What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to another great episode of Tee It Up. I'm your host, Pierre, Pee Wee the Plug, Andreessen. And as always, we have a lot of basketball to touch on. A lot of playoff basketball stuff going on, a lot of drama, dramatics. We got teams finally getting eliminated on to the second round, nearly. We got teams like my team, the Knicks, playing games, letting series get extended and whatnot. But I do want to start off with some news that is a little down. I hate starting off episodes and conversations on a down note or a sour start, but we have to. Damian Lillard, as we know, ended the season with a tough blood clot calf situation that was very unfortunate, very scary. Dame spoke on it a little bit here and there. And, miraculously, we were able to see him overcome that rather quicker than we usually have seen or anticipated. And he was able to rejoin this Pacers versus Bucks series. That was good. It was good. It wasn't great, but it was good because there's history there, because the Pacers are this very, very good team, top to bottom. They have depth. They have some star power. They have some consistency. They've been a really, really well put together team. And then you have them going against this Giannis monster who doesn't have the proper supporting cast. It isn't as strong as we've seen. And then he doesn't have Dame, but obviously he's motivated because he hasn't gotten out of the first round in the last few years, and he's been hurt the last couple of. So it was really good, but it wasn't great. Then you got the history of this little rivalry that they have starting to fire up because Dame is hurt, but he's on the bench chirping with Tyrese Halliburton. They going back and forth. Then Dame is cleared to rejoin the series, and now just Dame's presence being back on the floor, helps the Bucks. And so now we got this series going on, and Dame is back in tune. The Bucks go home in Game 3. They blow the Pacers out, and they make it now a series because nobody yet has won on the road. And we all say in the basketball world, a series doesn't start until the team wins on the road. Then in Game 4, where it feels like the series is at its peak because now Milwaukee has some momentum. Dame is back. And there's a potential chance of this series being tied 2-2 going forward for some more theatrical stuff going on. And unfortunately, Damian Lillard gets hurt. Now, I will say this. When the injury first happened, I thought Achilles. Not because I'm some doctor and I know what an Achilles look like, but his reaction was so, down and he wasn't moving at all. And Dame is a guy that he's not really going to linger off of an injury that isn't as serious as a Achilles injury, and his reaction. But because he didn't show as much pain or reaction to pain, I deleted the tweet that I had. Well, I didn't delete it, but I canceled it. I was typing up a tweet that was saying, "Oh boy, I hope that ain't an Achilles." But once I saw his reaction, I'm like, you know what? Let me not even put that in the air. I'm not even 1,000% sure. Maybe he did just twist his ankle severely. Let me just remove this tweet. And so when I removed the tweet and I saw him getting helped off the court, I thought nothing of it. I went on about my day. Obviously, it was a little saddening and disappointing because I wanted, like I said before, that series to maybe go to length. Anytime you have two teams that have a rivalry, you want to see it kind of go 7, and the shit talking is peaking and it's getting, more intense and more intense. But then the next day comes and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not doing anything work or basketball related. I'm driving with Penny, and we get home or something, and I reach for my phone finally, and I see a tweet that says 35 with an Achilles tear. He might be cooked. And so I'm like, what the hell is this tweet about? And it was from a Blazer fan. I forget his. He knows who he is. He knows. I forget his Twitter handle, but I see him all the time. And I'm like, is he projecting an Achilles injury? Is that what he's saying? So then I click on my phone and there has been a whole report from 2 hours ago that I apparently missed that says, yes, Damian Lillard has an Achilles injury. And I was heartbroken for Dame because this whole situation has not gone nearly the way that anybody has anticipated. And I'm sure Dame feels that more than any of us from the outside looking in. This transition from him leaving Portland, a place that he, made his home for X amount of time and was extremely loyal to and gave them everything he could. and kind of feeling like he wasn't genuinely in the space to want to leave the way other people wanted him to. I don't know if y'all remember that time and that time frame where, Dame was extremely committed to Portland, but all of this outside noise was saying that Dame should leave. It's okay to cheat the grind. He deserves to do all of this. It never felt like it was genuinely something that Dame wanted. And even when he did request a trade, finally, it felt like that came off the heels of Portland looking like they were going to be in position to draft Scoot Henderson. And that kind of was the cherry, on top to kind of solidify that both parties should maybe go in opposite directions. And Dame finds himself in Milwaukee. You have him and Giannis. This is supposed to be an easy mesh, an easy fit. They're going to take over the Eastern Conference, and it never ends up going that way. Chris Middleton is consistently hurt. Brook Lopez age starts to show. Giannis is having injuries. They go through a coach change in the middle of a season when they're winning. Dame is having off-court, situations that ain't any of our business, but he's having a divorce that is going public. It's so much going on. And to not have the success, to be in a position that you maybe not all the way 100% was sold on being, and now have to deal with these injuries. You go from a blood clot injury, which is severely scary in your career perspective, and then you fight back as you always do. This is Damian Lillard's, pedigree that we've known him to be. Quickly comes back from the blood clot situation, which we talked about our numbers on the board. I'm like, we got to give a lot more credit to these athletes because just the mental aspect, I don't know if I'm coming back from a blood clot injury that fast, even if I'm cleared. You know what I mean? Like, even if I'm cleared, I may tell my team, like, man, I need time. Like, I can't just rush back. This is a serious thing. And for him to do that for the team, for Milwaukee, and put himself out there, it was not surprising because that's the cloth that Dame is showing us that he's cut from. But to see him then go through all of that, and at the right time in this series, it seems like, again, it's about to go into the Bucks' momentum and in their favor. Dame goes down with a unfortunate injury, and now we're talking about, like that tweet I saw, Damian Lillard going into his 35th year-old season and having to bounce back from an Achilles injury. And then that goes into what's the next stage or process for the Milwaukee Bucks. And before we get there, I just want to send love to Dame, and I just want to use this situation as a constant reminder on why my perspective is how it is when it comes to certain players. The thing about the NBA is that it's the greatest talent in the world in one league. It's 30 teams, 12 eligible players to be dressed, 15 per roster. It's not a lot of spots, and the ones that are taken up are the best of the best. And it is extremely hard to win in our league. Everybody won't win, right? Like, this ring culture that has developed with the internet age of the world, I think is losing sight of that. Everybody's not going to win championships. You know what I mean? And that's okay. There's some great players who have played and have had historical careers that just don't have a championship, and that's the way it's supposed to be. We're not supposed to have it where all of the best players are able to win a championship, because that means something was, you got guys teaming up, you got guys taking quote unquote easy ways out. I'm just not in the belief that every star should run whenever something isn't going perfectly. You know what I mean? That's just the nature of the game and the business. And in Dame's situation, I think it's a great example to show that the grass isn't always greener. That quote unquote shortcut or that easier route is not always easy. You know what I mean? In retrospect, we've seen at a bunch of different times where the Clippers situation where they got Kawhi and Paul George, you know what I mean? That looked like they were going to take over the Western Conference and take over the league. That didn't materialize into anything. The big three in Brooklyn with Kyrie and KD and Harden, it didn't materialize into anything. And granted, whole different sentiment if KD foot isn't on the line, maybe. There's just a bunch of different examples over the last decade or so where things don't go how we think they should on paper. And there's been a lot of teams historically that we all thought were going to be a lot better than they were. And unless you have the best of the best, like the 73 win Golden State Warriors being able to win 73 games and then add Kevin Durant, being able to be the big three Miami Heat to get LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, it doesn't always work out so easily. And I think there's value in these players staying true to themselves and staying true to the city that they have behind them. And so when I see the Devin Bookers of the world and I see what the internet is saying and I see what talking heads are saying about, man, you should leave. So they're in a tough spot right now. And it's like, there is no guarantee that when you leave, there's a drastic difference. You can go somewhere else and still not be a champion. You know what I mean? And it's like, is that trade-off worth it? You know what I mean? Is it really worth it? Is Giannis leaving? Now we're getting into the next phase for the Bucks. Is Giannis leaving guaranteeing him anything? Especially when you look at the NBA, it's a new NBA. The first apron, the second apron, you know what I mean? The stipend rule. It is very hard to build championship teams on the fly. It is extremely hard. And when I look around the league, I'm just not sure if there's these seamless fits that give guys these automatic opportunities to win championships. And so going on into the Bucks Pacers series, where I'm going to start doing my playoff power rankings while simultaneously going through some of these teams in these series. So do y'all best to keep up. It might be a little scatterbrained, but it will make sense. The Bucks Pacers series is wrapped up. We're going to stay on topic of the Bucks coming off the Dame situation. This is a disappointing series loss. The Pacers are a really good team. They're a really good coach. They stepped up drastically in the playoffs as a complete unit. I think they have a lot of boxes that they check off, and they have a lot of versatility. I think highly of Pascal Siakam. I think on the last episode of Teed Up, I called him the most underrated player in the league due to his production and how consistent it is becoming, and just how reliable he is as a two-way basketball player. I think Tyrese Halliburton is going to be an All-NBA guard this year. I think Miles Turner fits exactly what they want to do offensively. The ability to hit timely shots, step out on the perimeter. He's always a threat to be a shot blocker. And then you got all of the other holes that are filled up. Aaron Nesmith is an incredible shooter who gives you everything he has on the defensive side of the basketball. Nembhard is a great secondary ball handler who in his right position is a natural-born point guard who can defend his tail off. And he has this clutch factor that just turns on in the playoffs like not many other guys in his role can. Obi Toppin is an athletic freak who can come off the bench and hit 4 threes. You also have Benedict Mathurin who can get buckets and bunches. Jarris Walker is a really good, high-intelligent, defensive Swiss Army knife forward who can also spot up in his shots. TJ McConnell is a mid-range specialist who knows how to control tempo. Thomas Bryant is an energy big who can also step out and occasionally be a threat from the perimeter and give you a good 10 to 11 minutes a night. They have a really good team. So losing to the Pacers is not a big deal. It's just how the Bucks lost. You lose, especially last night, or when y'all watched this, it'll be 2 nights ago. You lose in that fashion where Gary Trent Jr. is having another one of those performances. The first performance Gary Trent gave us in the game that they won, Game 3, you're thinking like, man, there's no way he's going to be able to, do this again. And now, back against the wall, no Damian Lillard on the road, having a chance to potentially extend this series. You do all of the work, and you blow, a 7-8 point lead with like a minute left. Then you go into overtime, and I thought the Pacers were going to kick their ass in overtime. I just think it's a very scary situation in the NBA, especially in the playoffs, when you blow a lead on the road, which means the home team took all of the momentum in the last minute or so, and now you're going into overtime with them having that momentum, with the crowd going crazy. And now, you know what I mean? So I just thought they were going to run through them. The Bucks stayed the course, positioned themselves to win the game again. And in the last possession of the game for the Bucks, or the second to last possession, all you need is to control the basketball, allow the Pacers to foul you, knock down your free throws, and you should be good. The odds of you coming out with that win, if you do those simple things, increase drastically. But instead, you got guys being scared of the moment. There's no other way I could put it. Kevin Porter Jr. gets that ball to AJ Green. And I was extremely disappointed in AJ Green, who had a really good playoff run for the Bucks and was shooting lights out. And I think he's going to be somebody on the market that the Bucks are going to have a hard time retaining because people are going to look for his shooting and the way he was able to shoot the basketball. He got that basketball, y'all. And I think everybody on the Bucks was comfortable with him holding that ball, getting fouled, and going to the free throw line. He's one of the best shooters on the entire team. No, he is the best shooter on the entire team. He panics. He throws the ball. It goes on a Gary Trent legs. Should have Gary Trent got that ball? Yeah, it wasn't the greatest pass, but there's still no excuse in that. But I am at the point where I don't even know why the pass was made. And to lose like that, being that close, kind of like what Giannis said as well, knowing that, the news y'all just got for Dame, that's such a gut-wrenching loss. And that's the type of loss that I know a lot of them are still at home right now, probably thinking about and processing. And then you take that situation into the Giannis and Tyrese Halliburton's dad. I don't have too many thoughts on it. I know it's a talking point right now. The only thing I would say about that is I love the way Tyrese Halliburton handled it. Things can be touchy and sensitive when your parents and family is involved. And a lot of times, as children, we don't like to police our parents. It can be uncomfortable because it feels like they should police what we do. There's a respect level in a lot of us where you don't want to ever tell your parents what they need to be doing, or you don't want to have to put your parents in line or whatever you want to call it, right? It's an uncomfortable situation at times. But when you do become an adult and you are a professional like Tyrese Halliburton, sometimes you have to. And I commend him for how he handled it, how he went about it, and for being able to hold his dad accountable. And then I also commend his dad for being able to receive that message from his son, and also issue the apology to Giannis Antetokounmpo and understand that he was wrong. And then I also want to commend Giannis for being able to restrain himself and not acting like a damn fool in the heat of the moment, because I know a lot of players and people who would have lost and would have found a way to be a sore loser in that moment. And, when you watch the entire situation play out and you see him waving a towel and Giannis' face and everything, you just see how composed Giannis is keeping himself. I commend him for that. And even what he said at the presser and everything, he kept it 1,000% respectful. He gave his thoughts. He articulated himself well and got his message across without being disrespectful. Because at the end of the day, that is somebody's parent and it is a peer, no matter how wrong he is. And he's an elder. And we're all taught to respect our elders and everything like that. So I just commend all parties. Now, on an actual situation, yes, Tyrese Halliburton's dad was wrong. He shouldn't have done all of that and antagonized him because, that there's no reason to do it. And also, you have a son that's in the NBA, so you got to conduct yourself at a certain level and with a certain type of pedigree. So that's my thoughts on that. I know it's a burning topic. I seen the guys in on the post game Shaq inside the NBA or whatever talking about it.
No, his dad was 100% wrong.
Giannis is wrong?
Bro, Giannis said something to him.
No, he did not.
Yes, he did.
No, he not.
Look, right there.
No, his dad is coming up to him. What is his dad doing on the court? His dad is not supposed to be on the court.
Shaq, I don't know what you be talking about sometimes. Like, Shaq has these opinions and these perspectives where, like, players just have to be these robotic players. And I'm glad that Kenny and Chuck spoke out. It's like, yeah, you have a responsibility. You know what comes with the territory. But at the end of the day, we're all human. We have emotions. They just lost an incredibly, mind-boggling game. And now their season is over. And as competitors, Shaq is a competitor. He should know, emotions are running high. And no matter who you are, who you're related to, how much money you spent on the ticket, there's never a right or an entitlement where a person should be able to antagonize a player that way. You know what I'm saying? That's just unacceptable. And there's nothing else to talk about on that situation. I rank in these playoffs so far, the Pacers at 6 and the Bucks at 13. It went what, 5 games. I felt like some of these games were a little bit closer than they should have been. I felt like the Pacers left some of the doors open a little too much for me against this Bucks team that didn't have Dame for a lot of it. And even when Dame came back, he was a little bit rusty and whatnot. And I think even his last game, being at home, having all of the momentum in the series, them just losing their star guard after getting them back, they were really deflated. And I feel like the Pacers could have took advantage of that and ran them out of the gym. But even allowing a team that's down that much and that's so easy to scheme against and is so poorly defensively, I didn't appreciate some of these games where the Pacers allowed the Bucks to stay in it. I know their fans felt the same way. I've seen a lot of frustrating tweets at the end of this game when a lot of people thought the Bucks were going to win. And miraculously, the Pacers, was able to pull it off at the, forcing overtime, going into the overtime, pulling it out. But when ranking it, I took some of that in consideration. And I think they got to sharpen up a bit because in the next round, they'll be playing against a Cleveland Cavalier team that, for the most part, is relatively healthy. I know Darius Garland is dealing with a toe injury, but they're going to be healthy. They're going to be a lot better, and they're going to be harder to game plan against. And you want to make sure you're as sharp as possible because if Gary Trent is able to have multiple games like that, there's no telling what a Donovan Mitchell is going to be able to do. There's no telling what a Darius Garland is going to be able to do, what a Ty Jerome is going to be able to do. So Pacers 6, and then I got the Bucks at 13. Bucks are at 13. They won a game, so they're higher than the teams that got swept. And I got them right above the Magic at 14 because I think they had the series a little bit more in a respectable range than the Orlando Magic. Now, with the rest of the power rankings, we're just going to go through and we're going to tie in these power rankings into the series of each team. So the number one team in my power rankings is still the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think they handle business efficiently and swiftly. They, record-setting game 1 loss, 51 points. Even what they did to them in that last game and even in the game where Ja got hurt, they really toyed with the Grizzlies a bit. They handle business. And Shea didn't even have to have his brightest moments in the playoffs yet. And I think that was something to talk about. They had a lot of different situations where Chet took over. J-Dub had some moments. Defensively, Caruso and the entire team was extremely locked in. And yeah, they handle business very, very fast. I will say one thing also, too. I have the Grizzlies at 16 because the Grizzlies kind of play pathetically. Very close between them and the Heat. And I know Maddie is a Heat fan, but that loss that they had to wrap up the series was unacceptable as well. I'm going to say this too, tying into both of these series. So I have the Thunder at 1. I have the Grizzlies at 16. I have the Cavs at 2. I have the Heat at 15. One of the things I'm not liking right now in these playoffs that happen, and I don't want this to become a new trend, it's a lot of talking and not a lot of backing up nothing. So Ja Morant gets hurt and everything. They ended up losing the series like we all predicted, even when he was healthy. And he says, man, I had them figured out. It's like, come on, man. Come on, man. No. Then they do what is it called? The exit interviews. And I love Ja. I love the Grizzlies. They need to make some moves. But I just got to keep it real. They said something like, seeing the Thunder take the next step. And Ja, they did? They did? Yes, they took the next step. Do you not pay attention to the NBA? Yeah. They were the best team in the NBA. They just swept y'all. Even before you was hurt, they was kicking y'all ass. And he's like, I remember when I made the second round. Yeah, but you ain't making the second round now. They are on a different level than y'all have ever been, Ja. And it's okay. The Tyler Hero and the Darius Garland shit. Darius Garland talked all that shit, saying what he was saying about Tyler Hero, then didn't play in the last 2 games. We didn't see him play on the floor since going back and forth with Tyler Hero, which he initiated, by the way. Then Tyler Hero, he's doing his thing, going back and forth. Hey, man, we down 3-0, but we what did he say? We going to get 1. Or some shit like that, indicating that they weren't going to get swept. And then they go out and lose in the fashion that they lost, saying, I don't want to see this become a trend. I think it's corny. I think it's lame. And I think these dudes would feel the same way if it was somebody else. If Ja Morant was on the other side of the coin and somebody on OKC, if Shea was saying, I was just getting them figured, I had them figured out. Or if Shea was at the exit interview saying, they did? They took another step. I remember when I went to the second round after the Grizzlies had a 60-win year and they were the best. If like the roles were reversed, Ja Morant would be looking at this saying, come on, man. That's corny. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way he could convince me he would look at it any different if it wasn't him and his team. Tyler Hero, you would laugh at Darius Garland if he was down 3-0 talking about, we're going to get one and lost by 50-some points. Bam Adebayo, he always does have the towel over his head and everything, but he was like hiding his face. That shit was so bad, Bam wouldn't even try to show his face. It was so disgusting. And I don't really got shit to say about the Heat and Cavs series. I was giving the Heat the credit the first couple of games. They were fighting. They was in there. They was playing hard. They was doing Miami basketball things. That last game at home, I mean, you look up, it's 38-8. Come on, man. I felt like my time was fucking wasted. I felt like my time was played with. As somebody who has to watch these games and figure out analysis to come on here, come on Numbers on the Board, be a guest on other platforms, my YouTube channel. I'm talking about basketball. I'm breaking things down. People want to have conversations. They want to hear opinions. They want to hear insight. Y'all didn't give me shit to work with. When teams play like that, I am frustrated because I take time out of my day to shape it around these times of these games. I left my mom's house to go watch that bullshit game. When I got home and I saw what was happening, all I kept thinking was, damn, I could have stayed at my mom's house for an extra hour or two. You know what I mean? I could have chilled. That was a nice ass day when the Heat did that petty ass shit in Game 4. I could have went out and spent more time with my dog. I'm sitting here with a notebook, watching and dialed in, looking for anything I can write down and note. For y'all to play like that, y'all gave me a blank page. I was ready to take some notes, but I ain't had no notes to take because it was some bullshit. I'm not about to sit up here and fake analyze that game. Miami Heat, that was unacceptable. I don't know what's worse. I felt like the Grizzlies in Game 1 against the Thunder, losing by 51. I thought that was crazy because Game 1, like I've continued to say, the emotion level, the adrenaline of starting the playoffs and just being back in that mode, I felt like should have you so locked in that you don't lose by that much. But then it's like in Game 4, back against the wall, you have nothing else to play for. Like, you just got the home crowd. Let's at least get a home crowd one. They talking shit. They down their starting guard, by the way. And that's what y'all do. Like, fuck winning. All right, y'all wasn't gonna win, but y'all lost like that. I ain't got really much more to say about that. I'm done talking about the Miami Heat. And I don't really want to spend much time talking about them in the offseason either. I saw what Bam said. I expect changes or whatever. We've expect changes to the Miami Heat, drastic changes, by the way, to the Miami Heat for the last few years. And we didn't really get them. And we probably wouldn't have got anything this year if Jimmy didn't really put the battery in their back. Jimmy kind of forced their hand. And even with forcing their hand, they was a little hesitant until he became rebellious. And it was affecting everything that was going on. But like, I'm not expecting shit. Should there be changes? Yeah. But I'm not about to spend another offseason talking about the Miami Heat and linking the Miami Heat to all of these players. For what? They don't have shit. I'm not linking the Miami Heat to Giannis Antetokounmpo. For what? I'm not wasting my time. I'll let the rest of y'all do it. My third team is the Celtics. We can talk about the Celtics and the Magic a little bit. The Celtics were so good last year, and they ran through the Eastern Conference so easily, and they took care of business in the NBA Finals, that I think people never grasped how good and talented this team is. And also it made people kind of like discredit them in a way. All of the talking points were something negative. Oh, man, Jaylen Brown won the Finals MVP. What that mean about Jason Tatum? Oh, man, Jason Tatum ain't playing in the Olympics. They playing Derek White and Drew Holiday over him. He's supposed to be their best player. It was all of these different things. Oh, man, the East was weak. It never felt like the Celtics got credit. So now I'm excited for the Celtics because they have some things that's going on, right? They have injuries. We've seen in this series against the Magic where Drew Holiday missed time. Tatum missed the game. Brown was hurt and has been questionable. Porzingis got his head buzzed. They've had a lot of different things going on. And they haven't had the same season that they did last year. They didn't just take over the league. This was that kind of was the thunder of this year. But the Celtics are still the Celtics. They're still going to be tough to beat in 7 games. They still have Tatum, Brown, Derek White, Drew Holiday, Porzingis, which is a tough 5. The scheme and the way that they want to play with the skill set of each of and one of these players, how good they are defensively, being able to switch. They got lockdown guys, movement shooters, isolation creators, everything that you want, they have. And you see that in the Magic series. Yeah, they stooped down in competition a little bit. They definitely did. And the Magic came out and played really aggressive, but every time it was needed for the Celtics to do what they do, they did it. They was turning off the Magic water here and there, and they don't really get too much flowers, I know, because the Magic offense ain't shit anyway, but it just showed you how good they are. Now, should they have swept them? Yes, they let one get away from them. That's been their issue for most of the season, where it feels like the Celtics kind of come into games, they play around, they play down in their competition, and then they try to turn it up too late, and before you know it, they lost or loses a game. We've seen them do that a few times this season, and it backfired on them again in the playoffs, but ultimately they still handle business convincingly. Nobody in the world thought that the Magic were going to win this series or had a chance, and so I'm excited to see what the Celtics do in the next round. I got the Magic at 14. It was hard for me to put the Magic over the Bucks because I think the Bucks played the Pacers just a lot tighter. But I still commend the Magic. They're a young team. They are not nearly constructed as much as they need to be, or as well as they need to be. And they didn't have Suggs. But they're another team. I was saying on the podcast on Tuesday, this offseason is going to be interesting. We've already seen a lot of things and a lot of teams maneuver a certain way because of the first and second apron. Then on top of that, free agency is not what it once used to be because everybody's taking the extension. And if you don't want to be there, you just force a trade a year or so after your extension, but you go get all your money in the extension. So nobody's really hitting the market as much as they used to years ago. Then on top of that, in this particular offseason, I think there are a lot of teams that feel and have been shown that they cannot come back nearly the same. Sometimes you have an excuse. It's like, oh, we're young. Like for instance, the Pistons are a team where they're going to want to make a move and they're going to want to get better because of how good they were. But we're all kind of giving the Pistons like a little like happy to be here situation where it's like, yeah, they just turned around a season. They made the playoffs for the first time. They're playing tough against the Knicks. They've extended the series. Credit to them. If they came back with the same roster with minimal moves, I don't think any of us will have a problem with it. It'll be like, that's fine. Magic, they're happy to be here stage is over. They have clear issues and clear problems that is going to continue to hold them back. And they're going to find themselves in the same exact situation year in and year out if they don't make drastic moves. They need to have somebody out there who can create and feel comfortable on the perimeter. They need an Anthony Simons, a Kobe White, or something like that. But this whole super defensive team that can't shoot threes and is just going to operate with Paolo and Franz, it's cool, but it won't allow you to get to the next step. The Miami Heat can't come back with this same team, which is why Bam said what he said at the press conference. So they're going to have to make some moves. The Grizzlies damn sure can't come back with the same team next year. That they just cannot. No, I think they're done. They're done with that team. The Bucks are another team. Now, the Bucks don't know how much wiggle room that they have. Don't have as many assets or avenues as the other teams that I mentioned to get better, but they just won't be able to come back with the same team. Hell, I even look at a Laker team who are down 3-1. Series still ain't over. And they have drastic issues that they're going to have to address when it comes to the offseason. They already tried to address it when they got Mark Williams, and we already know the story with that trade. But furthermore, watching this series, though, that issue has to be addressed. It has to be. The Knicks, that's my team. We about to talk about them in the next series. We playing around with the Pistons. We're going to have to make moves if we let this get out of hand. And staying with the Knicks, I was disappointed in last night's loss on multiple different reasons. Number one, you always want to be able to close out the series at home when you have the opportunity. You up 3-1. You want to make it a gentleman's sweep that allows us to get rest. You win in front of the home crowd. And more so than the rest, we have nicked up bodies, right? That's playoff basketball. There's not a team right now that ain't aching, that ain't hurt. You know, they ain't banged up. That's just what it is. But we're playing against one of the most aggressive physical teams in the entire playoffs. That's Detroit's swagger. You know what I mean? They playing hard, they bumping you, they hitting you. They when they foul, they make sure they foul it. And I have no problem with it. I actually enjoy that brand of basketball, and I think it fits their team really, really well. And so when you see Brunson leave the game, come back and had a heroic fourth quarter to close out that game on the road in Detroit, that's cool and that's dandy. You love that. But it also puts a little bit of a more emphasis on closing out in the next game to allow that same player to now have some rest for the next series. But if we allow them to extend this series, and if we can't close it out in Detroit, which is going to be hard to win in that environment with the back against the wall, nothing else to lose, the more this series gets prolonged, the more banged up we get and the less rest that we have for next season. Next series. We already behind the 8 ball in the next series anyway. Even if we swept them, we're going against a Goliath of a team and the Celtics who have had our number all season long. Now, don't mean much because the Pistons have had our number all season long too. And, you know, it ain't mattered that much in this series, even though we still do have one more game to win. I'm not looking past the Pistons because we're still in the series. But if I look forward just a little bit, us or the Pistons, whoever goes against the Celtics are going to have a tall task and a tall order. So you would have appreciated to be able to have a little bit of rest because the Celtics are also banged up a little bit, but they're about to enjoy some rest and to be able to heal and properly get prepared for their next series. So I was a little disappointed in that. I didn't like some of the substitution in the fourth quarter. Cat, Brunson, entire team needs to play better. Don't get me wrong. Want to see a little bit more production from that bench as well. Outside of Mitchell Robinson, I'm more so speaking on Malice McBride, campaign and whatnot. Brunson played like 5 minutes in the fourth quarter. I think Hart played like 4 minutes. I know he had got hurt or whatever. Don't know how serious that is or how much it'll, affect him going forward in the series. But yeah, I think there are some things, and I wrote down a couple of things that I'm not a fan of. Number one, Cat, one shot in the first quarter. I appreciate when players let the game come to them and they're not pressing, but we have to continue to emphasize to Cat how important and instrumental he is to this team. Because he can get where he wants to in the interior, it puts pressure on the Pistons to have to foul him. Point blank. There's no way Tobias Harris should be able to stop this man from getting and doing whatever he wants to do in the paint. We got to stop playing him so far from the basket. Now, he's been shooting lights out, making big three-point shots. I'm not mad at that at all. Continue to take those shots, big fella. But we do need more attempts at that rim. It's the same thing for Mikal Bridges. Like, Mikal is incredible in the mid-range, but I hate that every shot he takes is literally away from the basket. He's falling away from the basket in every single shot. He'll beat a guy, and instead of getting to the rim, he'll just stop in the paint and shoot a fall-away mid-range shot. And I would much rather see him attack a little bit more because I think that jump shot, it's hard to block, it's hard to contest, but it's becoming predictable. And I think we need to put more pressure on the rim, just a little bit more. We missed three free throws in the first quarter. We missed a lot of free throws in this game. We made our free throws. We would have won this game. We started off 1 of 6 from 3, and we also had 6 turnovers. A terrible start to the game. But the craziest thing about that is the Pistons didn't have some sexy start either. They had 5 turnovers. They shot 29% from the field, 30% from 3, and Cade had a 1 of 6 start in the first quarter. And all we did with that was win the quarter by 1 point. I just feel like at home and even on the road, whenever you have your opponent playing this poorly, or not even if it's because of you, maybe they just come out slow, you have to be able to take advantage of this. And I feel like not only did we not take advantage, we just played just as poorly. If we are able to take advantage of this slow of a start on a team that's already down 3-1, back against the wall, on a road, young, inexperienced team, that is the perfect start you want from them. We just didn't do anything with it. We have to take advantage of that. 4 missed free throws in the fourth quarter didn't help. Brunson played 5 minutes in the fourth. Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr. shot 3 of 14 from 3. Have to take advantage of that because when these dudes make those shots and they're raining their threes, playing off of Cade Cunningham, it makes him that much more harder to guard. and it keeps them in the game, and it allows them to build leads. And it's hard to come back completely when you're playing from behind. And we allowed Asar Thompson to live in a dunker spot. He was too comfortable. That was his best game of the series. And I don't want to see him have another performance like that again, if I'm being completely honest. And in turn of the power rankings, I have the Knicks at 8, man. I have the Knicks at 8, and I have the Pistons at 10. This has been one of the closer series in all of basketball. The only series that's been closer is the Nuggets and the Clippers, which is now also 3-2 as well. But yeah, I think the Knicks have to do a better job closing out some of those games. The last one, and then the other one that they won in game 2, I felt like we could have. This series could have been a sweep. Could have been a sweep. But then it's also, this series could be 3-2. You know what I mean? On the opposite way. So we got to step it up. We got to take advantage of some of the youthful mistakes that they're making. And we got to come out aggressive and on fire to begin the game. You know what I mean? Like the way we played in Detroit, it felt like we were desperate. It felt like we knew the magnitude of going up 3-1. And then it feels like we lost all of that to start game 5. You know what I mean? We came out as if like this win was a guarantee, as if they were going to bow down. And I just think we are too familiar with this version of the Pistons to have had that mentality going against them. So, yeah, series is far from over. We got to execute and take care of business and move on to the next round to eventually play the Celtics. Timberwolves, Lakers. I have the Timberwolves ranked as my number 4 team in the power rankings, and I have the Lakers at number 11. Another 3-1 series. They're going to play today. It's Wednesday, the 30th. So when this comes out, we'll see what happens. I'm going to instead talk about some of the things that I've seen, and then I'm going to project or predict what tonight will look like. So when this comes out, y'all could go in the comments and be like, you was exactly right. Or y'all go in the comments and be like, you was wrong as hell. You don't know what you're talking about. How are they hiring you to talk about basketball? Anyway, Anthony Edwards' top 5 conversations have officially begun. I think we've been here before, but I think it's a lot more realer. He has been phenomenal in this entire series. He was phenomenal in game 4. He's ready and able in every single situation that he needs to be in. Every time they need him, he is there and ready to deliver for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I was blown away by the performance he had in game 4. The start of that fourth quarter to me was magical. He came out with a 3 and then another 3. Then he hit the mid-range jump shot with the footwork, and then he hit another 3. He came out and had 11 points in the first 4 minutes of the fourth quarter. When the Lakers kind of had some momentum, they were able to build up a decent deficit, I thought, going into the fourth quarter that could have made them a little bit comfortable. But his aggression, his clutchness, and his focus early on in that fourth quarter put a lot of pressure on the Lakers. And the amount of pressure that was put on the Lakers, they kind of folded the more and more they seen him kind of living up to that moment. And then he got the crowd behind him. And I think his energy is contagious. And I think that's why these Timberwolves teams the last couple of years have been able to kind of match his energy. When it's time, a lot of these other guys are with him. You know what I mean? Jaden McDaniels is living up to the moments. Naz Reid is having these clutch moments. Even in this series, Julius Randle is looking the best we've ever seen him in his career in the playoffs, because I think he's playing off of the energy of Anthony Edwards, not to mention the confidence he gives his teammates on and off the court. He's there to hold people accountable. I've seen him in a game ask Dante DiVincenzo, like, man, what you doing? Shoot. I've also seen him at the post-game interview giving credit to Dante DiVincenzo. I've seen him telling Julius Randle to be more aggressive. You know, he was the guy that infamously said, they got Kevin Durant, but we got Jaden McDaniels. And a lot of people was like, man, he crazy as hell. And obviously Jaden McDaniels is no Kevin Durant, but that's just who he is for his teammates. Anytime he gets a chance to shower them, to praise them, to uplift them, to make them confident, he does it off the court, but then he's also now doing it on the court, where there used to be times where Anthony Edwards would shoot over 2 or 3 people, and sometimes he'll do that at the end of the clock or whatever. That's just some star player shit. But now you'll see him, he ain't hesitating. You give him 2, he'll release that basketball and trust that his teammate is going to make that shot or make a play with the 4-on-3 advantage. And I think that's what star players do. They find ways to make their teammates better, to empower their teammates, because they know The better my teammates are, the more comfortable they are, the more effective they are, the more easier my job becomes. Because now if you have to stay home on a Julius Randle corner 3-point shot or on a Jaden McDaniels corner 3-point shot, when I drive, I now have easier lanes. And I'm showing you that if you help, I'm a willing passer who constantly believes that his teammate is going to make the shot or make the right play. And I think it's allowed the Timberwolves to overcome some of the ways that the Lakers have tried to guard Anthony Edwards. Whether it's, a lot of us anticipating early on in the season they were going to blitz him. But then you started to see heavy gap play where it was confusing and it looked like a zone, but it wasn't. And it was a lot of shifting and shading and a lot of different things to load up on him, and he's responded and answered very well. And I feel like he has played the games perfectly. He knows when to assist, when to facilitate, and he also knows when it's his time to arrive and to close out a game or to ignite the run that they need. And I've been extremely impressed with every game I've seen him play, and the fact that he's not worried about taking on the assignments of getting switched on to Luka or LeBron, and he's willing to take on and accept those challenges when the game is on the line. You can't ask for more at the guard position. You just can't. And it's interesting to have those conversations about him and then the conversation about Luka, which is how good Luka is and how magical he can be with these crazy shots and everything like that. But I think the conversation is going into not necessarily like I see people that go a little far with it of like, man, this what Nico Harrison was talking about. No, like I'm not justifying trading Luka Doncic. Like, no, I'm not doing that. But you do see some of the issues that he has to figure out. And the Lakers are going to have to figure out what building around him. Because it just feels like anytime somebody's guarding Luka, they're having their way and having success. Right? Like Jaden McDaniels has been phenomenal this series because he's been able to score the ball because Luka's guarding him. And Luka has certain possessions where he shows you he's capable, right? Like I've seen certain possessions early on in his series where Luka was on Anthony Edwards and was holding his own. Is like legitimately holding his own. But then you have these other parts where, there's 48 minutes in the game and you have to sometimes do it in the playoffs more than one or two possessions. You know what I'm saying? And when you see the Timberwolves seeking him and going after him and he's essentially giving up the points that he's generating on the other side, it becomes problematic. And again, this is the first version of Luka with the Lakers. Their plan and their vision initially when they made this trade, I don't think was to win a championship or to be this contender. But then they were playing so well when he first suited up for them that it made it seem like there was some type of way that they could overcome some of the roster limitations that they do have. And now we're seeing here again in the playoffs where they have some things that they're going to have to address. And again, the series ain't over. It's a 3-1 lead. You're still going against Luka and LeBron. We know how dangerous they can be. They take it one game at a time, and before you know it, they're playing game 7. And we're having that same conversation where anything is possible when you have a Luka and LeBron on the opposite side of you in a game 7 situation. So, we'll ultimately see there. But those are just some of the things that I've seen from the Lakers and Luka Doncic. And it's to me interesting how we're having one conversation about one star guard and how he is doing this, that, and the third, and he's leading and defending. And then you have the opposite conversation with Luka where, don't get us wrong, the highs are extremely high. Step back, almost half-court shot, with the clock winding down, and he makes it. It's like, oh, man, incredible. But then you have people like me who are watching more than the highlights, and you're seeing certain patterns and certain things that is hurting the team and stopping them from winning games. So very interesting there. Another thing I quickly want to address is a conversation we kind of had on Numbers on the Board, and I also had this conversation with Christian. He texted me a tweet of somebody saying the generation of the league that we're currently in, and I'm gonna go into my phone. I give the verbiage of this tweet properly because it was an interesting conversation, and I think it's something that should be talked about just a little bit here. Shout out to Christian too. I think Christian is on vacation with his family, so we want to wish Christian safe travels and a good time. He deserves it. Christian is a hard worker, but we are having a little bit of a good time without him. I'm just joking. Yes, the NBA enters its weak link era. Basically saying if you want to build a team for success, you need to look less at your strongest links and more at your weakest ones. It is there that a team's destiny is determined, whether it will go down in history or forever considered a failure. And it's basically just talking about, and it quotes a tweet that says, having the best player or players in a series has never mattered less in the NBA. And that's kind of the conversation we had. And the reason the conversation came up before I seen that was because I went on numbers on the board and was like, hey, I wanted badly to pick the Timberwolves. I believe that the Timberwolves, and still do obviously believe that the Timberwolves had the better team. My basketball mind was saying they have the better team. They're going to win. They should win. But the roster and the talent, I looked at LeBron and Luka and was like, I'm going to just go Lakers. Even knowing all of the other stuff that I knew, I went with just the best players at the top belong to them. And so when I went on numbers on the board, I said, man, I'm fine with all of the picks that I've made, but that Timberwolves Laker pick, and it ain't even that deep, right? Like, you're going to be right, you're going to be wrong. Who cares? But for me, it was just like the perspective of looking at basketball. I noticed that we're in a different space. And I've said this because I was the person years ago that was saying that the big three shit is dead. Stop trying big threes. It's a dead movement. It's not what it once was. But somehow I was a little disappointed in myself by still picking the Lakers. I also picked the Bucks because I was just like, they got Giannis. He's going to be motivated. And I just kind of wanted to see Giannis do some legendary shit. I'm going to be honest because I know how good the Pacers are. But yeah, it's just an interesting thing that we're finally in a spot where I think that and we've kind of been in a spot for a while, right? Where like you got to have a good team, no matter, even if you have the better player or the best player over there in the series is over there. If you have a team that's legitimately better, that's going to outweigh in today's game because role players, specialists, they're just too important in today's game. And the intelligence of how the game is being coached in certain levels from a defensive schematic mindset or an offensive scheme and whatnot, or, just the limitations. Like the Lakers have Luka and LeBron, and it has not mattered in this series. It's a 3-1 series. This could be a gentleman's sweep with Luka and LeBron. But the Timberwolves have their guy in Anthony Edwards. They have an all-defensive wing in Jaden McDaniels who can take a Luka assignment. They have a Defensive Player of the Year candidate backing them and anchoring their defense, and Rudy Gobert. No matter how much better he should be playing, his presence alone is still there. They have a strong power forward in Julius Randle who can handle the physicality and match some of that strength that the Lakers have with a LeBron in the front court. They have a bench that has Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Dante DiVincenzo, Naz Reid. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's an amazing team for playoff basketball. They had the ups and downs all season long, right? They had a trade at the start of training camp, and they had to figure some things out and go through some things. But when it's clicked, it's always looked pretty damn good. I was very questionable on if it was going to click here in the playoffs, but it has, and it's showing. Now, they still have one more game to win, but I just love that we're at that point. And I think that's why the Celtics are extremely dangerous. The Celtics are, that starting five is legitimately, to me, perfect. It's perfect. You have an all-defensive, one of the best, if not the best perimeter defender in Jrue Holiday, 7'3" Porzingis, who can also shoot 40% from three. You have an incredible driver in Jaylen Brown, who can also score in isolation. You have one of the best scorers in the NBA in Jason Tatum. And then you have Derek White, who is the best role player in the NBA, everybody is saying. He's a guy that can score 30. He shoots 40-something% from three on 9 attempts. He can guard. He's high IQ, makes very minimal mistakes. You have the 6th man of the year in Peyton Pritchard, who can shoot 8 threes a game and also shoot 40% from three. You have Al Horford, who talk about basketball IQ and experience and being able to shoot, pass, dribble, rebound, defend. They check every box. Last few places we're going to go for the power rankings. Warriors are 6th. Super impressed with the Warriors. They had adversity. Jimmy Butler get hurt. They were able to win that following game without him. Jimmy Butler ruled out. They still took care of business. And then that gave them some breathing room. He was able to get right, came back, and they won game 4 as well. So now they're up 3-1 with an opportunity to close out the series tonight. I forgot to get my prediction for Lakers Timberwolves tonight as well. I think the Lakers so they played 2 games. We're going back to LA. A part of me thinks that the Lakers do what the Nuggets did, where they go home, they handle their business, except the Nuggets took a 3-2 lead. The Lakers would make it a 3-2, but they would still be down. But I also feel like Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves, I feel like they smell blood in the water. Give me the Timberwolves. I think it's going to be a close game tonight. Don't think the Timberwolves are going to blow them out. LeBron James ain't folding that easily. But then it's also like it's the Lakers, where they're going to make sure the Lakers series get extended. Can't let LeBron James lose in 5. NBA ain't letting that happen. No, I'm just joking. I know how to irritate Laker fans. Give me Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves closing it out tonight. Give me that. I want to go with that one. I want to see that. I want to see Anthony Edwards know what the moment it is, know what it's about, know how dangerous it is to leave that door open for LeBron James. We know when 3-1 is said, the first person that comes to all of our minds is LeBron James. So I'm gonna say the Timberwolves handle business and no, we ain't gonna play around with that fire. We ain't gonna do what the Knicks doing. We ain't gonna fuck around and leave that door open. We gonna handle business, even though it's on the road. We gonna take care of business. So give me the Timberwolves for that. Warriors, Rockets. They're going back to Houston. I don't think it matters. I really don't. I think the Warriors have found some things. I think the Warriors are experienced. And I don't think that the Rockets have anything that they can fall back on at this point no more. I was rooting for the Rockets, and I've been disappointed. You talk about experience, age, and all these different things. And I don't think any young team that's in the playoffs right now has shown more of that than the Rockets, right? The Pistons are young as well, but Cade Cunningham is not your typical young player. Him and Jalen Green came in the same draft class. They're having 2 different playoff debuts, 2 different players, 2 different comfortabilities, two different productions, and that means everything for the Pistons. Being able to rely on Cade Cunningham in his best games and in his worst games. Cade Cunningham still gives you a certain presence that you can count on. The Rockets have not been able to count on Jalen Green. Outside of his one incredible game in game 2, he has not been able to give them anything that they can hang on. And that to me, it's tough, man. It's tough because Sengun is an interior player. And you already don't have as much spacing. And when Jalen Green ain't giving you anything, it puts so much pressure on Fred, who's only 5'11" or 5'10". And he's only doing 1 or 2 things. He's shooting the threes and they're falling, or he's trying to facilitate. But it ain't like Fred is a 3-level scorer at that size. He's not Jalen Brunson or anything like that. So he's kind of limited. Amin Thompson is not a perimeter shooter, so they don't really guard him unless he's in the interior. Your advantage is loading up on the board. So then you play Steven Adams and Sengun together, which it makes it harder for Sengun because, again, the paint is so overcrowded. I don't know. And there's nothing they can do to bother Steph Curry. I continue to be amazed at Steph Curry because he's a star who doesn't press. He doesn't panic. He doesn't force shots. You don't look at the box score. Even when watching, though, you just don't feel like, damn, like, he taking that many shots. You know what I mean? Like, you see star players at a certain time where your team is down 15 or they're down 11, and it's like, oh, shit, I got to force up some shots now. You just never get that from Steph. You never get it from him. Even on his worst days, he's, like, accepting it and just doing what he does. And I just think that they have such a good culture there that a lot of guys are able to play off of it. AirPods knows what his job and his role it is, and he's been playing it to a T. Moses Moody has played it to a T. Quentin Post is giving them some good shit as a rookie. Starting one night, not starting. Buddy Hield defensively last game, it was insane. You don't expect to see that from Buddy Hield, but like the Warriors are able to get that from players. It is incredible, and I think a lot of it starts with a Steph Curry being your leader, being able to show up and lead by example. And then also having the fieriness of Draymond Green. You know what I mean? Being able to hold guys accountable and be willing to sacrifice and do all of the dirty work. It holds everybody to a certain standard. And the Warriors are just they're doing it again. Now I will say I am disappointed with Draymond Green. I do think that he still doesn't realize how important he is, at least not in these moments. And I hate the position that he constantly puts his team and himself in. He's too good of and too intelligent of a basketball player for his reputation to be this. Just what it is. I hate that Draymond reputation is like nothing basketball when you first hear the name. It's all of these moments that ain't really got much to do with basketball. His career is too decorated. Back from Michigan State, back to high school, he has a decorated career that when you hear that name, the first things that people talk about or think about has nothing to do with the decorated career that he's had. It's the kicking in those Oklahoma Thunder series. It's the suspension and that Cavs series, which ultimately helped the Cavs with their comeback. It's the Jordan Poole situation. It's the Sabonis stomping on his chest. It's games like series like this, which this shit that I'm talking about now for the Rocket series don't compare to none of that, but it still just makes it relevant. Whereas like you get a technical foul, which is cool, but you know you got one, and instead of calming down and just like understanding the moment, you find yourself in another position that could potentially get you kicked out, which would be the biggest benefit for the Rockets. You put yourself in a position when you grab it on Tari Eason fucking jersey, knowing that you already have a tech, pushing the fucking lines as far as you can, knowing what you mean to the Warriors. You know how much you mean to them. Jimmy Butler already ain't at 1,000%. And it just becomes frustrating and hard to watch. That's all. It's just very, very frustrating. And if you don't understand it now, or if you didn't understand it then, I didn't even talk about the Kevin Durant situation. But if you don't understand this shit now, then it's like I don't know if you ever gonna understand it, honestly. Because I can't imagine a world where he got ejected and the Warriors still win that game. But we could be in a position where it could be 2-2 because your ass forgot how important you are, couldn't restrain yourself. And that would be, again, you putting your team in a bad situation. So I just want to see Draymond at some point understand it. And maybe he never will. Maybe I'm asking for too much. That's me. Warriors number 16 on the power rankings. Rockets number 12. And then the last series we haven't touched on is the Nuggets versus Clippers. Last night they played. The Nuggets controlled the game. The Nuggets looked way more sharper. They look like the better team for the first time in the series yesterday, like the legitimately favorable, better team. And I'm surprised because I felt like after the Clippers kicked their ass in game 3, I believe it was, felt like the momentum really shifted heavily to the Clippers. And Michael Porter Jr. was talking about his shoulder. He could barely lift his shoulder. Aaron Gordon was saying his calf is so bad he felt like he couldn't jump anymore. And it felt like they were not throwing in a towel, but they was preparing to throw in a towel. And I thought that the Clippers would come out with more urgency and smell that blood in the water and attack in that game 4 to get a 3-1 lead and to really kill that morale. But instead, they didn't. They came out lackadaisical. They came out unfocused. The Nuggets took advantage. You spend the rest of the game playing catch up. You use all your energy in that 4th to change the tides of the game. You fight back, and Aaron Gordon wins it at the buzzer. Could care less about if it counted or not. Same thing with the Tim Hardaway Jr., Josh Hart. I don't care. My opinion don't matter. The call was a call. If I feel like Tim Hardaway Jr. got fouled, does that change anything? Pistons fans and people as a Knicks fan reaching out to me, oh, man, what am I supposed to do? What do you want me to say? Same thing with the Aaron Gordon. What do you want me to say? If I agree or disagree, it don't fucking change nothing. Like, who cares? It's whatever they count it as, and the result is a win for the other team. And it's nothing I can do about it. But with that being said, the Nuggets were able to take that momentum take it back home. It's already hard to play at the altitude in Denver. We know that. They kicked their ass yesterday, and now the Clippers are in a position where they have 2 games that they must win. And again, like some of these other conversations that keep happening in the playoffs, it's just funny how it does it. You know what I'm saying? I seen my guy Swiper on Twitter, who's a Nuggets fan. He said something like a couple games ago or a couple days ago that Kawhi was in Michael Jordan, LeBron conversations. You know what I mean? And now it's like 3-2 Denver. Got to turn into Michael Jordan or LeBron or whatever the hell. But it is funny how these conversations go one game and now, we cementing guys. I seen KB on small ball. I seen KB like, man, if Kawhi do this, that, and third, he'll be better than Kevin Durant. But he caught himself. He said, but I'm getting too ahead of myself. They got to get past the Nuggets before we can talk about winning a championship and finals MVP. But that's just how the entire playoffs have been. So, yeah, I got the Nuggets at 7 in my power rankings. I got the Clippers at 9. I think that the Clippers still do have a chance. But, boy, it's tough because in order for them to have a chance, you now have to extend the series, which should be easy because you're going to go home and play in the Intuit Dome. And you already showed that you can really run them out of the gym in that arena. And but on the flip side, you're going to force a Game 7 on the road against the best player in the NBA. That's never a circumstance that you should want to be in, but it's the only avenue they have to advance. It's not impossible. It's definitely not impossible, but they're going to have to play a lot better than they have the last 2 games. And Kawhi Leonard is definitely going to have to turn into 2019 Kawhi. So I'm excited for it because I know what type of Kawhi we could potentially get. And I also know what type of Jokic we can get. So I think that series, like I said at the beginning of the playoffs, was my number 1 series. And it has proven to be that. And hopefully it could deliver some more memorable moments. But that is my power rankings for the 2025 playoffs so far this first round. All right, y'all. Time for a fan favorite. Q's with Pete. This is one of my favorites, too. It's always good to get a little break of basketball. Playoffs can get so intense. Today, it is a little different. Like I said earlier in the show, we don't have Christian. We have the fabulous Kat joining us. She'll be taking over what Christian usually does. So hopefully y'all ain't got no problems with that.
All right, first question. It's from Chase's Burner, AC1.
Oh, I know
Favorite
Chase.
Man. Oh, shout out Chase. Favorite man and woman wrestler, excluding Garcia because that's a given.
Okay, so yeah, shout out to my boy Ryan Garcia. I'm glad he tapped in and that would have been my answer. First and foremost, I'm going to say this. Because of what Derek does and how in tune he is a wrestler, I think some of y'all need to remember, not all of us are still tapped in that much. So my answers are not going to be anything relatively close to what's going on now. Eddie Guerrero was my favorite wrestler growing up. Then Eddie Guerrero passed away, and it was Edge. Now, woman wrestler probably will be Trish Stratus. Maybe before Chase's time, not sure. A lot more options today as far as the women wrestler goes than when I was growing up. But yeah, I'll say Eddie Guerrero, Edge, and then Trish Stratus.
All right, this one. This question is coming from B_HBARAR. Who's your dream guest on the podcast that's not a basketball player? Also, much love from Mongolia, which Mongolia, that's crazy.
Hey, shout out to Mongolia. We got to go out there. Anyways, I don't know if he's saying for this podcast or numbers on the board, but in general, I'll probably say Will Smith. I'm a big Will Smith fan. I grew up watching Fresh Prince. Will Smith wrote a book a couple years ago that was magnificent. And I just think that from when I see him speak to other people, there's always wisdom there. I think he's been such a celebrity for a long time. He has had things said about him and his family publicly. They've had, all type of stuff. So I think you can get some good advice and some life values from Will Smith. And he always has good perspective. You know what I mean? So give me Will Smith, man. I think Will Smith would be real dope.
This question coming in from RK_legends. This question's crazy. If you could restart civilization from scratch, What is one human trait you would remove?
So I seen this one, and I sent it to Kat because it made me think, and I found my answer. I didn't know if I was going to be able to come up with an answer because I sent it, and I was like, damn, what's my answer actually going to be? Jealousy. Now this is a more in depth. There's types of jealousy. The jealousy that I'm talking about is the resentful jealousy. It's the hateful jealousy. It is the negative jealousy. Jealousy, I think the definition is like to envy something or something that someone possesses or have or what they're doing or something like that. I am not a jealous person in a hateful way. I have not, maybe when I was in second grade as an 8-year-old and somebody walked in with a Tracy McGrady Magic jersey, maybe I would have been like, oh, I wish I had one. You know what I mean? Maybe I was jealous like that. But as an adult, I'm always never jealous because the jealousy that I have, number one, motivates me or it's like wishful thinking. So I'll give you 2 examples. My neighbors are about to move to Florida. They're an older couple and they're moving to Florida. They had a house built, designed for them, and it's designed as they get older. So it's like not a lot of stairs. It's like very complimentary to the stage of life that they are in and going to enter. And so when they was telling me this and describing the house, I was like, I'm jealous. Like, I want to be able to be in that position when I'm that age to make that type of move if that's what I want. But it was more of an inspiring jealous. It wasn't like I don't like my neighbors or I want the worst for them or I'm praying something happens that they can't move. You know what I mean? That type of jealousy is weird. Then there's, to me, the wishful jealousy, which I also have had in the past few years. 2 examples in wishful jealousy. When we travel, we go to the airport, we have like these early flights. I don't eat because I'm so afraid of the way my stomach could potentially react. And I don't want to be on a plane for 2, 3, 4 hours, with my stomach hurt. My stomach reacts differently and I can never predict how it's going to be. So sometimes I pass. But I'll see Derek indulging in something looking extremely delicious. And I will jealously look at him and be like wishful thinking like, damn, I wish that I had the confidence in my stomach, or I wish I didn't give a damn and would just eat because I'm over here starving. I'm living off of water that cost me $5 in the airport and it's 8:00 in the morning. I would love to have a breakfast burrito too. But, I have that wishful thinking type jealousy. Also, a few years ago, All-Star Weekend in Cleveland, we go out to a club. It's Through the Wire at the time, which aka numbers on a board. It's MMG, who's a creator. It's RDC, CashNet. We all together. Shout out, my boy Kenny Chow was there. We all in this section. We having a time of our lives. We don't do this often where all of us is in one spot. We drinking, having a good time. Kenny says no to every drink offered. Meanwhile, the rest of us are going crazy. I'm like 7, 8 shots deep. I don't know how this happened, but I look up and I'm drunk as hell. I'm not buzzed and I'm drunk, like drunk. We leave this club or whatever at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Meek Mill came and performed. I think Benny the Butcher was in the next section bio. Like we was having a really good time. And Cleveland was smaller, so everybody was in one spot. Yo, we leave. Our flight is at like 8 o'clock in the morning, just like hypothetically. So we have to get up at 6. We leave at 4:30. So we all go to the hotel and we're talking before we go to our rooms to say like, bro, we can only sleep for like an hour and a half to 2 hours. We're going to call, make sure everybody wake up. We cannot miss our flight. So we really didn't get no sleep. So I wake up and I'm drunk. I'm even more drunk when I wake up. And like, I'm crazy drunk. We get to the airport. Our flight is delayed. It ends up being canceled. But I throw up in the airport. I run to the bathroom and I throw up. They luckily in Cleveland have like a private bathroom that I was able to find. I was able to throw up in peace by myself. But I remember coming back and like just laying out and I'm like laying on my luggage and I'm looking at Kenny. He's regular. And I told him, I'm like, bro, I am so jealous of you right now. I would pay any amount of money to be you. Like that. I was so like, and so much to the fact that the last few times we've gone out, I have not been drunk like that since then because I remember feeling like, bro, I legitimately wish I was KB right now. He is in perfectly good condition. He is not drunk. He ain't feeling how I'm feeling. He is, and so, and then we went to like Miami, and Derek got overly drunk, and I remember seeing him throwing up out of our Uber on the way to the airport, and I remember being like, "Thank you, God, that I felt that jealousy of KB that one time I was drunk." So now, this time I learned my lesson. I didn't drink, and now I'm watching Derek go through it, and I'm like, "Thank you for not doing that again." So my jealousy is like that. So I hate when people find a way to be jealous and they turn into a hater, they turn into a negative person, or they just wish bad on people. I've never seen somebody thrive and just been so jealous that it's like, I hate them or I want bad for them. So I want to remove that trait. Like, have jealousy, but let it be inspiring or motivating or wishful thinking jealousy, where it's like, damn, let me not get drunk like that again. I wish I was you because you didn't drink.
Poetic P. All right, let's do one more. All right, this one comes from our Instagram DMs __ Ryland. What is your favorite memory from either numbers on the board, through the wire, or teed up?
My favorite memory. Oh man, this is one I actually don't have an answer to, so I'm kind of thinking off the top of my brain. First and foremost, it's so hard because obviously we have so many memories. I was actually telling somebody like I wanted to buy a Rolex, but I ended up buying a car for my birthday. So I was trying to figure out what was the next time that was kind of plausible to buy a Rolex. And the thing that I thought about was the 10-year anniversary of us being a podcast is around the corner. Like, somebody told us happy 8-year anniversary on September 3rd, 2024. So September 3rd, 2025 will be the 9th year anniversary. And then September 3rd, 2000. So we're like 2 years away from having a 10th anniversary, which is crazy. That just shows how many memories we have. I'll probably say the first time we went to New York, when we linked up with House of Highlights and they like flew us out to meet them first time and go to their office. That was a big memory because it was like, that's when it became super real. You know, we were traveling together. They rolled out the red carpet. We was like just seeing everything, and it was super dope to go through together. But I don't know. I don't have one answer. KB's wedding was dope as well, because everybody was there. You know what I mean? All of our extended friends and family. Doing the shoot with Peyton Manning when we first made the decision to join with Omaha was extremely dope. I mean, I'm sitting talking to Peyton Manning about football. This is a dude who, like, jerseys I've had. I've played Madden with him. I've won fantasy football leagues with Peyton Manning on my team, and now I'm just talking to him. Favorite Miami. The story I was just telling, we had a live show and then we went out to celebrate, and Miami is just always such a great place as far as weather goes. You know what I mean? Like, it's just something in the air of Miami that I've always loved, and I always used to talk about it, and I always used to say we should go, and to be able to go with the guys was really, really fun. So yeah, maybe that is it. Maybe it's just a tour in itself. Maybe it was a tour because the tour gave us a taste of everything, where we got to bond and do things together, which I always love. Because now we're getting older and older, you know, marriages, kids, you know, more working opportunities as individuals. You don't have as much time. So the tour gave us time to kind of kick it together, meet fans, and then work. You got a little bit of everything. You got to work, meet the people who help propel us to where we are, but then also have to spend time together. So I love any time that we can spend time together, you know, just us four, and kind of celebrate and think about how much we've done and how far we've come. Because it's hard to live in a moment. You're always thinking about what's next. Even like we just talked about it amongst each other a couple of days ago, the Adam Silver thing. I didn't realize how big of a moment it was until like my phone from like not even fans, but friends and family started to reach out. And that's when it's like, damn, like that is the commissioner. That is a big deal. The Steph Curry and Klay Thompson interview was the same way. Well, we did it, and I was like, all right, let's go home. And then they dropped, and then like my mom was like, man, y'all really like interview. And then I kept getting phone calls, and I'm like, damn, like we so in the moment that it's hard to disconnect and look at it from an outside perspective, because you interview somebody, and now it's like we did an Adam Silver interview, and I had to go home and watch the playoffs to prepare for work again, and I had to do teed up. I did teed up right before we did the Adam Silver interview. So you steady in this flow of working and what's next and staying sharp and staying on it, but at the same time, there has to be a better formula for us to figure out how to be able to stop, soak in a moment, and understand it. Because I don't want to go through everything and then look back and be like, man, yeah. I kind of want to dwell in the moment a little bit more. So, yeah, that was all my favorite moments. I'm sorry it wasn't like one specific moment that I could point to, but when you do something for almost a decade, I guess it's hard to have an answer.
All right, so last question coming in. We had to throw this one in here. 100 Humans versus Penny. Who do you got?
I got Penny. I got Penny in 4 easily. This is why I got Penny. Penny is a small dog, 13-pound Cavapoo. But there's 2 things Penny got. Penny got the ferociousness of a tiger. In her mind, she is a lion or a tiger. I don't know if it's because she watched Lion King or these movies that have animals in it, but she thinks she's one of them. Then on the other side, Penny has cuteness. You can't harm Penny because she's so cute. So what she's going to do, she's going to lull everybody with her cuteness, and they going to, ease up, and then she's going to bite their face off. That's so I got Penny. Penny is like what do you call Penny? Normally things that can harm you, they look a certain way. Penny is like Poison Ivy in Batman. They always made Poison Ivy, the character, like a very attractive woman, real like calm and sexy and smooth, and then she can wrap you up, and now she got Robin trapped up somewhere. That's how Penny can be. Penny will be real nice, smell good, soft hair, but then you get on Penny wrong side, and it's a whole ordeal. I just took Penny to the pet store the other day, and it was a big dog, and the dog liked Penny, and so he thought it was all cool, and he made the wrong move, and that switch flipped, and Penny got on his ass, and boy, you would have thought Penny was the bigger dog. His owner had to take him all the way up. Man, Penny almost got down on that dog. Now, I'm not saying Penny was going to hold her own for a full-blown fight, that dog, but Penny was going to bite first and let it be known I'm not the one to fuck with. So I got Penny. Don't be fooled by the pit. You see this picture? Make Penny look real innocent. And she is, for the most part, an innocent dog. But I have seen Penny react like, and then it was a trainer in that pet store, and the trainer came to me and he said, your dog was in the right. She has a boundary. The big dog crossed it because he wanted to play. And your dog said, I don't know you like that. I was just trying to see what you were about, but you crossed the line too fast. And so he was, explaining to me that my dog didn't do anything wrong. She has a boundary, and if you cross the line, she did what she's supposed to do, which is to let the other dog know, hey, hold on, motherfucker, I don't know you like that. And so that made me feel good as a dog dad, that Penny, she knows, I have a boundary, and if you cross it, I ain't scared of your size. So yeah, give me Penny.
Maddie just asked, who's Penny's NBA comp?
Penny's NBA comp, that's a great question. So a lot of people may know that watch me stream or do Twitch or whatever. I call Penny Morant. And the reason I call her Penny Morant is because when we're in the house, she makes obstacles that don't need to be. I have no problem picking Penny up and putting her on the bed, picking her up and taking her off the bed. That ain't what she wants. She wants to jump. I took her out the other day. She jumped off of the couch from behind. There's no reason for her to ever do that, but that she's like Derrick Rose and Ja Morant, where they want to jump up and, be explosive. And I'm scared because somebody told me when I first got Penny that they had the same dog and their dog tore their ACL and it cost $5,000. So ever since then, I'm like, Penny, relax. But she wants to jump off of everything. She just jumps. So if she was an NBA player, she's fast, and she jumps high, she would be Ja Morant or Derrick Rose. But Ja ain't had a knee injury like Derrick Rose, so I guess she'll be Ja. Remind me, I'm going to get a video of Penny jumping, and I'm gonna remind me to get it because people don't understand how high she can jump. I think I have the highest jumping dog that I have personally in my life ever. I've never seen a dog jump as high as Penny, and I'm not saying that because she is my dog, but I've dropped off at my mom's before, and my mom went to lock the door, and Penny knocked down a pan of bacon. My mom thought it was high. It was on the stove. Penny went and got it. And I was like, no way Penny was able to do that. But no, she put the towel up there, like a paper towel that had bacon on it. So Penny thought bacon was on there, and she showed me, and Penny went and got it. So I don't know. I'm going to get a video for everybody, though. I promise you, Penny is the highest jumping dog you have ever seen. I guarantee it. Hey, that's another great episode of Tee It Up. As always, I appreciate you guys. I am Pierre, Pee Wee the Plug, Andreessen again. We are locked in for all of the playoffs and offseason all along here every Thursday. You know where to find us. We out, though. Peace.